Okay, so you just got through the videos for setting up your local dev environment. And so this is the last thing you need to do before you actually move into the course itself. And, first step, watch this video for me. And then we're going to write a hello world just real quick in Python. Do the get workflow just so you can get another, and I should say get more experience with get. It's redundant. But it's GIT. Okay, And then you can reply here saying if you were successful in setting up your local dev environment. Okay. The thing I want to be clear, if you didn't get your local dev environment and you're somebody who's going to take that option of using the Replit site, just know, and I want to say this, I'll say this here, out here, once you create your account, and Dr. Angela will walk through that because that's how she presents the first couple of days in this, well, half of the course days we follow. But in here, if I was to create a new replit, okay, I would do it using Python, and then it gives you a name. But what she does is she has you fork some of her starting code, which is fine as well. I just want you to see this. So what you're going to be doing, if again you choose that option, which I hope most of you were able to successfully get your local dev environments done. But if not, for those who are going to take that option of using this site for the first couple of days, then know that you're going to be running code, following along, running code out here. And then as I go through and have you do commits, you'll need to copy that code into your GitHub. Okay. Now, this brings up a really good point and just one I want to make sure we're clear on. Okay. If you're doing that, then you're using GitHub. You're updating your files through GitHub directly. Okay. If you've set up your local dev environment, I'm in the wrong course. You don't want to do this kind of update. Meaning, if you have successfully set up your local dev environment, then the only time you come out here is to grab URLs to post into assignments. But if you're somebody who is actually working out here, right, then you're actually adding files and doing it here until you get your local environment set up. Okay, I want you to understand that once, and I'll show you mine. I've already gone through the process that you just did, and I'll just move over to my VS Code. So this is the way it should generally look. If you have this successfully set up, you have the base folder, you have your two repos, your private and your public repos. Okay, so that's how it's set up here. If you're working out on the web, then you're working here. Well, now I'm in the public, but you'll see when I talk about when to use private and when to use public, but you're going to be adding files. Now, the files that you're going to be adding and creating, what you're going to be doing is copying the code from here. Because once you do the work here, you don't submit your work from the Replit, you actually copy it over into our course GitHub organization. I'll go over that a little more when I get into week one, okay? So what I want to do here is just create a folder in our private. Let's go to do it in our public, and we're going to do a hello world, which is the most common first file anyone writes. So we're going to do it together just to kind of make sure everything's good to go and gives me a chance to talk about one additional topic. So in here, and I'm just going to increase my font size so you can see it a little easier. Right, in the public, remember, public is between everyone. Anyone in the course can see somebody else's public, but your private is only between you and I. So this is where you do your daily work in the Udemy course, and this is where when we do the learn together, and I'll provide other resources out here. So in here, now that I've clicked into here, I'm going to do a new folder, and I'm going to call it W0. It should be W0 for week 0, right? So then I've created this folder in week 0, and now I'm going to create a file that says hello. Actually, let's just do this. this is actually the most common file name in Python, which is main.py. Okay, so you'll see and you will see in my instruction, I have you name files differently than that, which is totally fine. But I just want you to know it's like the standard file name when you start a file. And then we're just going to type print, right? Open parentheses, quotes, hello. Okay. And that's it. But I want you to see one thing. By the way, let's just go ahead and run this. Boom. Let's run it, right? And hello is down there. I'm actually going to clear out my terminal. Now, what that is I have the terminal set up. In this case, when you run the file, it creates a Python window. There's my bash, which is the GitHub interface, right? But here, once you write code, is what you do. But one thing I want to say is that, and just briefly here, is if you go up, one thing I'm going to set from the beginning is writing what's called PEP8. Matter of fact, if you want to do a little search on this, PEP8 is the most common coding style guide for, and you can do it for VS Code, but just in general, there's a great site for this, How to Write Beautiful Code, I think is down, yeah, How to Write Beautiful Python Code. But here's the guideline on the web for how to write good code. So I want you to know, probably starting in week 2, I'll say, all right, from here on out, I take off points if you're not writing good PEP8 code. But what I'm going to do is make my editor work for me. That's my whole purpose of doing this. So what happens is once you have Python installed, and Pylance is really there to help you actually also auto-complete things and other help in your productivity. But in this case, the thing I would say and recommend is you go review, go to command palette, and then type in Python and find the linter. And in linter, there's various ones here. I typically like PyCode style. Now, once you install that, if there is any issues with PEP8, and look at this, there actually is here on the no, it wants a new line at the end. So notice there was a little squiggly there. It actually told you. So if I give it a new line, then there's no errors. Okay, so and this is something you learn over time, and the more you write code, the more you learn how to write good code, and PEP8 is a way to help you do that. Okay, all right, so now that we've done that process, we've written hello, and let's actually just do hello world, right? Run it again. This is the way you run, right? Hello world, outputs here. Now what I'm going to have you do is, and this is, you could either change directories, right? So learning some command line is good. So in this case, if I wanted to change into, because I want to change into the folder where I've written the code. But before I do that, right, if I tried to do the first get workflow, get status, it would say, it's not a valid repository. That's because my current working directory is that base directory, right? So I'm going to clear this. So what you need to do in order to do the git command is be in a repo. So what you can do is 2 ways. You can either do change directory, and I would type tab, and what happens is, because I have 2 repos, in this case folders on my local system, it says, oh, I find this, but I don't know, you fill out the rest. So I'm going to actually go into the public. Now I can do that, and that's great. And then from here, if I do git status, I'll see that there is untracked files, and that's really what this green coloring, and the U is that I have untracked files. So if I do git add star, right, what happens now is that it says, okay, now I have a file. If I do git status again, it will say, oh, there's new files here. Oh, there is. Actually, I didn't do these as well. Okay. So from just the base of this repo for my public, I could do this git workflow as well. Okay, so now here, I can now do the git commit -m, right? Adding week 0, hello world. And I want you to get used to because starting in week 1, I actually give you the specific commands commit messages I want you to use. So, this is just a good time to get used to that. So now what I've done is I've created a file, I've added some code into that file, I've done the git status to make sure I'm in the repo. I've done a git add to add it into the local repository. And now I've done a git commit to commit it. And once I've committed it, then the coloring changes, right? If I do a git status, I now have everything's fine, but I am one commit off from the uh, like this is origin and main. We're ahead a little bit from the remote repo. Now, what does that mean? That means if I go out to my public and just refresh real quick, those files are not out on my public repo because the last thing I need to do is push them, right? And so once I push that, then it pushes it out. I can go back over here. I can hit refresh on my web interface and I will see those, right? So I just want you to get used to that process. Again, this is one of the great things about working in a local dev environment. It just makes this process so much easier. And if you click into there, right, you can see it, right? There's the one line of Python code that we wrote today. Okay, so go back here. So what I want you to do is I want you to do that work, right? And then in the reply, talk about if you were able to do that work. If, matter of fact, you could just also, it would be kind of fun here, is provide the URL for, like if I go up here and I copy this line, which is represented by having the file open, in Canvas, I could actually just provide the link. Now, I think what Canvas does, oh, it does. If I hit enter after that, it automatically makes it a hyperlink, which I want you to know how to do, right? And then talk about, were you successful? So if you were successful in doing this from your local dev environment, if you had any challenges, maybe what those were you successful in getting through the workflow, or ask any questions or any issues you had in doing this. So just to be clear, you could do this without having your local dev environment. You would just be doing this from the GitHub interface out here by adding and creating new files. And you would just have to create that folder and file from there. Okay? All right. I hope this helps you. And then, introduce yourself. Say hi, to say why you're here, what you hope to, anything you'd like to know about us about you. And then you're ready to hit post. And once you hit post, I haven't done it yet. That's the last thing I'm going to do before I get ready. Now I'm going to go get this ready and then I'll release the course so you will be able to come in here and check it out. Thanks a lot. Talk to you later.